Hey YouTube, this is your girl Chic from Chic Speaks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. Please, as you come on in, please like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I go live, so you will not miss me when I go live. Listen, we get into it over here. Tonight's going to be no different. We are going to have a serious discussion, and this discussion is it's about mothers and their sons. What kind of energy are mothers giving off to their sons? And do they really know? I mean, it's like, are they conscious of this type of energy that they're giving off? Because it's like, if you know you're not giving off maybe an energy that has your son feeling the best, or thinking the best or the most highly of you, I don't see why you would give off that type of energy. So we're going to talk about it, because just in case you didn't know how you was coming off, we're going to talk about, sis, how you are coming off, how you are being perceived, not only by your children, your partner, but how you're being perceived by the people in the world, and how your energy can impact somebody else's. So we're going to talk about it. As usual, I have some videos I want to share with people, men and women, kind of giving their opinion about how they feel about women, and in particular single moms and their sons. How many of you ever, seen a woman to where she comes off as though her son is her man? Sometimes you'll see on social media. I had this discussion with somebody before, and they were like, I hate when women on social media, they call their sons, their little boys, their man. And, I just, after she said that, it had me to think, like, wow, like, because I have two sons, and I've never referred to either one of my sons as my man, my oldest son being 17, my youngest son being 14. So I've never looked at them as being my man, but they are my sons. But I have a man. So it's a mother's love for her children should be different than her love for her partner. It's a different type of love. And I can't help but to wonder if a lot of women are blurring the lines with that. And if we see more women blurring the lines with that, women who are single versus women who are actually married. So I want to talk about it, because I think that it deserves to be talked about, because I think a lot of women may be in denial about it. They're just like, oh, well, this is my son, or this is my only child, my only son. I'm going to be here when she's gone. How many times have we seen where it looks as though that mom is competing with the son's girlfriend or the son's wife? To her, it's like, that's my son, I'm gonna be here, when you gone, so period. So it's a lot, a lot of layers to it, and I want to tap on it all. So if you do have a comment or opinion pertaining to the matter, I definitely want to hear it, because I think that, there's some people that's going to need to hear some things about this matter, to where it may impact with how they move forward, going forward, when it comes to their relationships with their sons, their relationships with their sons' girlfriends and wives. Because, sis, I'm here to tell you, it's not a good look when you're doing the most over your son, and your son is in a whole relationship. And whether he's in a relationship or not, we can't be moving like that. We have to be cognizant of our behavior and understand that it's not cool on any given day for us to interfere in our son's relationships just on the strength of well, that's my son. Especially if we're dealing with a grown man. How many of y'all have watched any of those court TV shows, like a paternity court, and mama doing more talking than her son? So you already seeing, like, oh, okay, I see what we got going on over here. Mama just she cheated and took over the relationship. So the woman feeling like, hell, she in a relationship with his mama. She's like, hell, I can't. Mama is always there. Who wants it? Some of us may have experienced that, where mama was there. And I haven't directly really experienced where I'm like, damn, his mom is doing the most. But I have had a guy tell me, I remember in high school, a guy was dating, and when he got upset with me, he made a comment and he was like, I should have listened to my mom about you. Mind you, I'd never even met I think at that time I might have met her once, but I was basically a good look for her son. So if anything, I was leaps and bounds above him. But I think it came down to she saw that I had a greater influence over her son than she did. And it was actually for the better. You know, he would come through for me, do things. And I think she saw that, wow, this young lady can get my son to do things that I can't do, you know, or me and my husband can't get him to do. So we're going to talk about it. You know, it's layers to it. And I'm going to talk about it just from the perspective of being a mother to sons, but also the perspective of looking at the energy of these women that are coming off with this, a lot of times, a nasty disposition about themselves. And that energy kind of rubs the person who they're encountering the wrong way. It's just like, damn, why is she acting like this? I ain't even do nothing to her. Like, why she always seem like she got a chip on her shoulder. And what prompted me to want to do this live tonight was a conversation that I had with my two sons, a few days earlier this week, and they both came home. One in particular, my oldest, that felt a certain type of way about the attitude and how his Black female bus driver, the attitude that she was giving. He's like, from day one, from the first day of school, she had an attitude. They got yelled at. So from there on, he's come home on about 3 different occasions, like telling me the latest episode of how this woman was just doing the most. And so in that moment, I had a conversation with him and I let him know, hey, son, you're about to be an adult out here in the real world. And I need you to understand that this is not going to be the first, she may be the first Black woman that you kind of encounter with that had this kind of nasty disposition about her, but she definitely is not going to be the last one. So I need for you to understand that, son. And I asked my 14-year-old son his thoughts on it. He's like, well, she does seem, I'm gonna work with it. He was like, but she does seem like she's always mad for no reason. So I'm like, wow, these teenage boys are picking up on this grown woman. I haven't, mind you, met this bus driver yet. The school, we're still at the beginning of the school year, but they go to school super early, get on the bus. It's still dark outside. But my two sons have already picked up this energy coming from a Black woman. And it's not a good energy. And in that moment, when I had this conversation with my sons, I told them that a lot of Black men say that they choose not to date a Black woman largely because of her attitude. She just seems to be mad and this, that, and the third. So I explained to my son, listen, it's not a race thing as far as with it's women having this way about them, because women are emotional. But I'm going to keep it real. More often than not, you're going to see a larger number of Black women who are going to have this nasty disposition about them than somebody of another race. It is what it is. It is what it is. So I explained to them, listen, I don't want you to say, hey, I'm not going to date a Black woman just because this, that, and the third. No, you don't. We're not all the same, because I pointed out I'm an example of someone who don't come off that way. He has grandmothers, aunts, like they're clearly not used to that, which is why it became a whole conversation piece in our house, because they're used to the women in our family, having a positive air about them. So I explained to him, like, listen, it's not going to be the first time you're going to encounter a woman that seems to just always be pissed off. But what I'm here to tell you is that when you become an adult, which, son, is going to be very soon, less than 6 months, you're going to have the ability to pick and choose who you want to give your time to, who's worthy of you, who's going to be, and that's based off of how they're treating you, how they're making you feel, because no one should be entertaining foolishness, man or woman, Black or white, Asian, Hispanic. No, we need to rock with those who make us feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because somebody's of us, okay, I got to date a black person regardless of what kind of energy they coming with, because this is the expectation. That's not the message or the assignment I'm giving to my children over here, because I understand you got some nasty people out there. You got some people who come off as though they're entitled. Like, okay, well, because, say, use an example of a black woman. Well, I'm a black woman and this is just how we are. We come with all the attitude, because I've heard women talk about, like, they'll keep it real. Yeah, we got all the attitude. But it's like it's coming as though, well, yes, this is the way we have about us, but what's the problem? This is just how we are. Deal with it. Roll with the punches. And I'm here to tell you and tell my sons, we don't have to roll with the punches. If you're not liking what somebody's giving, you move on. You leave them over there. You leave them unread. Their message is unread, period. I don't care who they are. So I really want to come on here just to talk about the energy that mothers are giving off to their sons, because it's very likely that this woman is a mother. Of course, my children, they don't know if she's married or have children, but I would say it's very likely that she is. If she's not, it's more likely of her being a mother than being someone's wife. How about that? Because they didn't know if she was married. They said, hey, we didn't pay attention if she had a wedding ring on or not. But I told them, based off of how her energy is, I'm willing to bet it's likely that she's not married. And if she is married, she's in a situation that she's not happy in, because people who are not happy will make your life or somebody else's life a living hell. It is what it is, So I can always pinpoint, somebody who's not happy just based off of their energy and what they're giving, because they just come off as just miserable. They just give this miserable energy. And then in the next breath, where the men at? Why nobody checking for me? The men ain't men no more. Nobody taking me out. They're all gay. No, sis, none of those are the reasons. The reason is that it's your attitude. Your attitude. You come off as somebody owe you something. You never satisfied. And then you just expect for people to just accept what you're giving, which is damn nothing. So I wanted to come on here and talk about this because I see it so much just as an adult in life. So it really hit home when I seen that my teenage sons are now experiencing it. And they're not experiencing it from their peers. At least that's not what they came home talking to me about. They're experiencing it from a grown woman. Like a grown woman. Y'all, she drive a bus. So she grown as hell. She drive a bus. So I'm like, wow, this woman is bringing her issues to work. My oldest son's like, yo, mom, can we change our butt? Like I had to explain to him about how it wasn't so simple to just, change your bus. I'm like, hell, we got to sell the house and move into another neighborhood just to get another bus, because it doesn't work that way. Hey, I need a new bus. It doesn't work that way. But he was just like, this is just too much. He was saying, even the neighbor, across the street, he's like, yeah, he said he was going to talk to his parents too about, getting another bus driver because of this woman. And it's like, wow, does this woman really know or have a clue about the energy that she's giving off to people, but in particular, Black boys, Black men? And we as adults be on here all day, all night talking about Black men, Black relationships, trying to keep families together. Men talking about they getting passports, they going to find somebody elsewhere. And though in the next breath, I'm having a conversation with my son about how his grown ass bus driver is talking crazy to them, and they're kids. So imagine how impressionable, kids are impressionable. So just imagine if they didn't have me as a mother to kind of counteract those things or that behavior, what their thought would be going into the real world, as adults, as men, and having an opinion of just a Black woman. Because you got a lot of men who, and they'll say, hey, I don't date Black women because of my experience when I dated this particular Black woman. Like they will legit change their whole life and how they move based off of the experience that they had with one person. And I don't want that for my sons. That's why I made it clear to them that not everyone's like that, but you will see more women in your future like that. And and you're going to be able to reflect back on, wow, that woman act just like my bus driver, like, period. Like, because they got introduced to the quote unquote angry Black woman, like they legit got introduced to it. And I was kind of, it low key, it made me kind of upset to where I wanted to call the school like, yo, y'all need to get this one. But at the same time, I told them, I was like, hey, you're going to have to learn how to deal with people like this when you have to, because right now you're children. So this is your bus driver. Just be respectful, sit down, listen. You don't have to engage in conversations, but she asked you a question. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. This, that. But when you become an adult, if somebody's coming off a certain way and you're not feeling good about it, oh, it's okay to be like, all right, then, well, I'm out. And she might be left wondering, well, damn, well, what happened? And if you choose to have a conversation with her again, you can express to her why you stopped talking to her. But don't entertain nonsense and foolery just because the person have the same skin as you, or just because, okay, your family would rather you be with somebody that looks like that person. I told him it's not about the looks, because sometimes the most beautiful people can have the most ugly spirit inside of them. So you have to judge people based on their character, who they're presenting to you. If they're saying, oh, okay, I'm a change, take that with a grain of salt, because 9 times out of 10, people are who they are. You've probably been watching them for a minute and it's cap. They're just saying that just to get you back. Don't get caught up. So I'm having these conversations with my sons that I think more often the conversations are had with our daughters. I think we mostly speak with our daughters about boys and how they try to do this or say anything to get what they want. But there's conversations we need to have with our sons as well, to keep it real. Like, we really do, because we got some toxic women out here. We do. I cover it on this channel. We talk about it. You've maybe seen it at play, in the media. We have toxic women right now. Listen, I told somebody, I feel like it's equal with the toxicity between the men and the women. I'm not, one ain't doing no better than the other, to me, in my opinion, because I'm seeing the foolery coming from both sides. I'm listening to the things that men have to say about women as they're trying to navigate out here through this dating scene. And I'm also listening to women and what they got to say as they're navigating, through the whole dating. So I'm hearing both sides. So I know that there's enough struggle to go around, and it deserves to have conversation. The whole thing deserves conversation, but today in particular, speaking to our sons or speaking to our mothers about our sons, I think it serves for a good conversation piece. So I want to go ahead. There's a couple of videos that I want to share, and I found a really good one that I want to share. It was Steve Harvey, and he was speaking. He was speaking somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it might have been on one of his shows, and he spoke on just the impact that his mother had on his life and how it shaped him into who he is. So even with that being said, we as moms, we have an impact on our son's life. What's in question is whether or not it's going to be positive or negative. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, what kind of impact do I want to have on my son's life? Because I'm going to have an impact, even if you're not even there and he's growing up with his father, grandma, or whatever, you're still having an impact on his life. Because by you not even being there, the impact is, my mom didn't love my mom didn't love me. My mom wasn't here for me. My mom left me. My mom, was incarcerated. Like, they're going to talk about, and there's still going to be an impact. So we need to decide before we become parents, what kind of parent we want to be, because so many of us are just jumping out here, just doing things, putting no thought into it. Next thing you know, we got 3, 4, 5 kids. And we talking about we struggling, we need help, the daddies ain't nowhere to be found, but we're not stopping to take accountability on the role that we played to get ourselves in that particular situation. So I'm going to share my screen because I want to show this video with Steve Harvey speaking on his mother. So let me make sure my screen, you can see my screen so we can kind of get into it. Thank you for joining. For those who've joined, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And we just gonna get this conversation popping. And I definitely want to hear from what you all have to say about tonight's topic. So let's get it. Okay. So let me get to the video. I have my laptop shut down on me, so I had to kind of bring everything back up again. So I'm in my back studio bringing up these videos tonight for us, but they're definitely worth checking out. So let's get into it. Fair use.
She's somewhere watching me. I hope that I've made her proud of the man I turned out to be. Haven't always been where I should have been in my life, but I was trying. And I look at my life and where it's turned out. I think about all of the moments, things she taught me about acts of kindness, how to treat people. Do unto others that you would have them do unto you. And don't do nothing to a woman that you won't nobody do to your mama or your sister. I remember her talking to me about respecting women. And if you can ever grow up, do something on behalf of women, always honor them, son, because you'll need them until the day you leave.
We'll run that one again because that was just a deep message.
She's somewhere watching me. I hope that I've made her proud of the man I've turned out to be. Haven't always been where I should have been in my life, but I was trying. And I look at my life and where it's turned out. I think about all of the moments, things she taught me about acts of kindness, how to treat people. Do unto others that you would have them do unto you. And don't do nothing to a woman that you won't nobody do to your mama or your sister. I remember her talking to me about respecting women. And if you can ever grow up, do something on behalf of women, always honor them, son, because you'll need them until the day you leave.
So that was Steve Harvey speaking on his mom. And I found that to be a very real video just because I know, as I say, just as a mom, I know what it is that I'm here teaching my children, in particular, my sons. So I want us to ask ourselves, how are moms presenting themselves to their sons? Like, think about you and what are you giving? How are you presenting yourself to your son? If you really were to be honest with yourself, do you feel like you're presenting yourself in a positive light to where your son would want to go out and find a woman who holds those characteristics? For example, many of us women, Black women are perceived as being strong. What does that mean? Being strong, like verbally, a lot of times, we'll hear a Black woman say, I don't need a man. How many of us have either heard a Black woman say it, heard their mama say it, or even said it themselves? I don't need a man. I can do this by myself. So think about you saying that and your children hearing you say that, your sons hearing you say that. How are they to proceed to receive that if they're hearing mom talk about, I don't need a man? Secondly, independence. How many times we heard women talk about how independent they are, how they can make it do what it do on their own, and they don't feel like they need to make any adjustments to themselves in order to appease or please a man, where they think that, okay, well, change, they deem change as in trying to conform to what a man wants versus trying to have themselves presented in a better light to where they would be able to have more success with getting what it is that they want from the opposite sex, getting the attention, getting someone to show interest in them, getting someone to want to stick around long enough to ask for their hand in marriage. Serious. How often we hear people refer to Black women as being serious. We're so serious. We look serious. We don't smile. You know, we have this grimace on our face. Oftentimes women say, hey, I'm like this because the relationships that I've been in, it hardened me. It made me this way. It made me not want to trust. It made me have to feel like I need to keep my guard up at all times to keep people away because I don't want to chance someone coming at me who have ill intent, who's not on the up and up. Unhappy. How many of us have heard people look at us as Black women or call us unhappy and say, man, you just unhappy. You're miserable. Is that a thing? Are there a lot of miserable women? Do we see women who may be by themselves, but though you see them surrounded by maybe women who aren't, and you see a change in maybe their attitude because they're singled out with not having somebody. So as a result, you see a different type of energy coming from them because they life don't look like the lives of maybe their neighbors or their family members because they're by themselves. So oftentimes they come off as unhappy. They look unhappy. Some may even admit that they're unhappy. More often than not, I don't think any of these things, a lot of these things, as far as what's perceived as negative, many of Black women will own, or if we do own them, it's followed up with some type of an excuse to justify why we're a certain way. Masculinity, masculine, she masculine. How many of us have been accused of being masculine? Or we see women near and dear to us who have this masculine energy, whether it's our moms, our aunts, our sisters, our friends, our neighbors. How often do we see a Black woman that just seems like she just got a lot like masculine energy, like not enough feminine energy, and then that woman is still in the next breath talking about she want a man and she don't understand why she can't get one. Or after she say, I want a man, I need a man, then you see her cussing out a man and getting into a fight with a man. So it's just like, and keeping in mind all these things that I'm describing, these women, many of them having sons to witness them, sons to maybe witness them fighting and putting their hands on men, putting their hands on their fathers, cussing their dads out. Like, y'all know that's a real thing. Y'all know, you either seen it or heard of it, of a woman going ham on her man or a man. We've seen it. Like, it is a whole thing. And if our Black boys are perceiving us this way, what's the state of our future with our sons growing up and with their wives, their future wives going to look like? Do we foresee a bigger percentage of Black men choosing to date outside of their race? Because right now they do it in higher numbers than we do it. But do you foresee that number becoming even greater? I do. We can just look and just dealing with just the media, celebrities and their children, the next generation, LeBron James, you see their children dating white girls, taking white girls to the prom, or at the NBA draft, you see the Black boys with their girlfriends who are white sitting next to them. Why is this? Why is this? And I think, the reasons are arguable, but I think we as Black women must take ownership in our role as far as our image and what we're presenting to the world and to our, to the world and to our children, that image. Like, how are we presenting ourselves to them? Are we presenting ourselves to them in a way to where they're like, yes, that's what I want to spend the rest of my life with? Or are we presenting ourselves in a way they're like, I can't wait to get out of this house and go get me somebody else because this right here. So I leave that question with you because I have another video where there's a group of men and they're just talking about their experiences being raised in a house by Black women. And it's sad, it's disturbing. I know there was no lies told because I've seen these things play out just within Black families. You know, you can see it played out in shows and in movies that when they depict Black families. So they weren't lying. It's just that it just has become a cultural norm for there to be dysfunction in the Black family. And when you're not used to that dysfunction, you like, wait a minute, you know, and that's how I looked at it with my sons in the neighbor, because they like, wait a minute, because I know this particular child, you know, in his household and that energy that's in that household, you know. I don't know what's going on behind closed door, but like I've been neighbors with this family for some time to where I can believe that, okay, this young man is not used to just toxic energy coming from a woman, because I've never witnessed such energy from his mom or even such toxic energy from his father. This child is an only child. So my son was like, yeah, he was going to go home and talk to his parents and be like, yo, we'll listen, I got 2 more years after this year to be at this school. Can we work something out? You know, so my son, he's a senior. I'm like, yo, son, this your last year. Just go ahead and rough it out. I'm sorry for you, but just be respectful, follow the rules. That's the best I can tell you. But when you get out there in the real world, it's up to you. The decision is solely up to you as to who you choose to entertain. And a lot of Black men today are choosing to not entertain a Black woman. So I'm going to show you this video. So we're going to get into it so you can kind of hear the perspective of Black men and how, and the message that they receive from the Black women in their lives. Fair use. Okay. Let's get it.
I never heard my father disrespect my mother at all in my life, no matter what she put him through. Yet my mom told me to tell my father I was going to get him deported if he comes to this house. He brought me numerous shit. Throw it on the floor.
That is real shit. I was raised by an aunt. She was abusive. My mom, she was on drugs. She gave me away. Like, these are true Black women in my life that caused arguably the most damage to me as a man.
My mother told me she ain't like me because I look like.
I appreciate mothers and they do work hard. And I know lately it's been easy to just blame the father for not being there. But we got to take some accountability at the end of the day.
So let's run that back because they spoke a word.
I never heard my father disrespect my mother at all in my life, no matter what she put him through. Yet my mom told me to tell my father I was going to get him deported if he comes to this house. He brought me numerous shit. Throw it on
That
the
is
floor.
real shit. I was raised by an aunt. She was abusive. My mom, she was on drugs. She gave me away. Like, these are true Black women in my life that caused arguably the most damage to me as a man.
My mother told me she ain't like me because I look like.
I appreciate mothers and they do work hard. And I know lately it's been easy to just blame the father for not being there. But we got to take some accountability at the end of the day.
So there you go. You heard it from the Black man. They're like, listen, mom talked all kind of mess about daddy. Daddy didn't say nothing about moms. But I know it's not always like that as far as how their situations were. I get that. But oftentimes it is like that. Like it is what it is. Oftentimes we do hear moms talking reckless about the father who's not in the house. And oftentimes that child don't know the real deal as to why the dad's not in the house. That child knows the version of what the mom told him. But of course, what they say, there's 3 sides to every story, your side, their side, and the truth. But even outside of the reason why daddy's not in the house, that shouldn't have no bearing on how you're treating your child that's in the house and how you feel about that child. Okay, yeah, that child looked like the daddy. Hell, you laid up with him. That always got me when moms would just be pissed off that the child looked like the daddy, like as though you didn't know going in when you laid down with him that it was a good chance that child, damn near, okay, we're going to just say 50-50 chance that child can come out having that man's whole face. You know, so we got to just be real with ourselves and acknowledge that we as women have work to do. Yes, we can talk about all day how the man wasn't in the house, but we can't continue to skirt over the energy we as women have given while being in the house. So when we see how, let's just say, you know, the next generation, the millennials, how they've turned out, how they're moving in these streets, women have to still own the part of what kind of example did they give or what role they played in that child's life. Because really, quite the contrary. Like, if the father wasn't in the house, okay, that child, that has an emotional impact on the child, but that father didn't shape the child's behavior. The child's behavior is shaped by what's being presented before them, what they're seeing, what they're hearing. So if the father ain't even around, they don't know how daddy moved, whether he's disrespectful, respectful, they don't know because he's not there. So they're just more so dealing with that emotional trauma of, wow, daddy's not here. He may not love me. But as far as their behaviors and how they're talking to people, whether it's in a disrespectful way, whether they're being physically violent with people, that's going to come from what they're seeing. And more often than not, with our children, our Black children are seeing things that's going on in the home. And in the home is predominantly run by the women, the single moms. So we have to own that part, and we can't skirt over the part, well, the daddy was gone. Okay, I get that. But you were there. Let's talk about you being there. What were you giving while you were there? And what you were giving, could that contribute to what we're receiving or what the society is receiving from your child? Like, so I think a lot of times we don't want to talk about the part that has to do with what we did. You know, we'd rather just, okay, I don't want to talk about that. Yes, listen, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how his daddy wasn't here and I did the best I can. That's not it. You can't sit on that. Well, I just did the best I can. When you just knowingly did some effed up stuff and then you're not even coming through or following up with an apology. No, we don't always get it right. But we all got enough sense to know if we did some effed up stuff or if we were doing some abusive stuff to our children. Like we know. And that ain't got nothing to do with, okay, because the dad wasn't there. That's just you and you choosing to take out your anger, your emotions on the child. And that ain't never cool. And when we do that, it psychologically and emotionally impacts that child, in particular, the sons. That's what we're talking about. It impacts the sons. It impacts how they view Black women as a whole. It impacts how they feel about being in a relationship with a Black woman, having children with a Black woman, them just having a level of respect for a Black woman, like all of that. Because as I say, a boy's first love is going to be the love for his mother, just as a girl's first love will be the love for her father. So if you're robbed of that, then you don't really know what love look like. You're going out here trying to feel it out and learn from whatever been given in the streets. And that's why I say, because my sons have me, they could easily be a child that don't have a mom like me or somebody who's in the picture or responsible. And this energy that they are getting from people off the street, they can take that with them and carry it with them. So that's why it was important for me to have that real serious conversation with my sons. So therefore they know that's that woman. And you are likely going to meet other women that has that same energy, but I need you to know that people are different and they're not grouped together. For example, you know, you can't lump them all together like it's just within like one neighborhood, one cultural group, one economic class. Like you can't do that. You judge people by what they're presenting to you, you know, their character and not their skin color. So I definitely wanted to drive that home to them because I can tell, especially with my oldest son, you know, who's 17, he is not here for that woman's energy. And I'm like, okay, he's come home multiple times every week since school started talking about this woman. So I'm like, man, I just wouldn't want this woman's to have a greater impact on him than me as his mom and what I can tell him and teach him about the nature of women and how it should feel, because he shouldn't feel stressed, hurt. Like there's times, you know, he was like, man, she just messed up my morning. I was just like, and it shouldn't be that way. Like somebody shouldn't be walking around just damn stealing the joy of people just because they're miserable. Like it should not be that way. So we just have to really be conscious of our behavior, how we're coming off to people, and not be so selective about, you know, when we choose to want to be respectful to someone. And I have another video I want to show. It's a video that Kevin Samuels did where he was talking to some women about the Black woman's attitude and how we have the ability to kind of just switch it up based on, you know, I guess whatever our needs are at that time. So I found it to be quite interesting, but you know, he made some good points on it, and I felt like, okay, it deserved to be talked about because, you know, we as Black women, we will do that. You know, we will flip the script when it comes down to us trying to get, you know, what we want. So let's get into this video, fair use.
Men.
They make it easy for you to do business, but they treat you badly.
No, they treat you nice when you show interest.
Oh, okay. All right. So you mean you came in and they didn't say, why are you here? Did they smile at you? They had a product to sell. You were a buyer. When you came on the lot, they said, hey, how you doing? They were welcoming. They offered you something to drink, and they did all this stuff. Do you treat the men you want like the car dealership treated you when you went to buy a car?
No.
Well, goddamn.
No, I have my reasons why I'm not why
Why?
and I
Why?
probably shouldn't.
Why? So,
Why?
What about the car dealership? You think everybody that walked into that dealership who showed interest in a car bought one?
No, exactly.
So do they get to treat you like that because the last person didn't buy? You guys got to start thinking about men as buyers.
How women need to treat men.
They make it easy for you to do business, or they treat you badly?
No, they treat you nice when you show interest.
Oh, okay. All right. So you mean you came in and they didn't say, why are you here? Did they smile at you? They had a product to sell. You were a buyer. When you came on the lot, they said, hey, how you doing? They were welcoming. They offered you something to drink, and they did all this stuff. Do you treat the men you want like the car dealership treated you when you went to buy a car?
No.
Well, goddamn.
No, I have my reasons why I'm not why
Why?
and I
Why?
probably shouldn't.
All right, so,
Why?
what about the car dealership? You think everybody that walked into that dealership who showed interest in a car bought one?
No, exactly.
So do they get to treat you like that because the last person didn't buy? You guys got to start thinking about men as buyers.
So he said it. I mean, it's like I said, women all the day long will talk about, I can't find no man. They ain't around here. They don't want the Black woman. These men are around. But if you got a nasty attitude and a disposition about you, ain't no man, regardless of what race he is going to be checking for you, is going to step to you. Because people pick up energy. If children can pick up your energy, you think some grown-ass man ain't picking up the energy that you're giving off? No, we can't be selective about when we want to be nice to somebody and show respect. Like this just have to be just a basic concept of, hey, you treat people how you want to be treated. So don't treat somebody accordingly to based off of what they can do for you. You know, as Kevin Samuels used in the example of, you know, when you're going into a dealership, you know, they're nice to everybody. Everybody don't buy a vehicle, but they're nice to everybody. So what I picked up is what he's saying to these ladies. Hey, ladies, just be nice to men. There's so many women that won't even smile at a man. Like a lot of men will talk about like they don't even feel comfortable approaching women because right away, just a look on their face, they just come off as somebody who just don't want to be bothered. They twist their face up. And I don't feel like you have to be that way just because you're not interested in someone. I think that you can still show a basic common courtesy to someone. Hey, how you doing? If they hit you with a compliment, thank you. I appreciate that. It's not that hard. They smile at you, smile, wave, keep it moving. Like, you don't have to be nasty to people. And I see a lot of women, in particular Black women, because that's what, I'm a Black woman, so I'm mostly running circles with Black women and pay attention to the energies of our Black sisters. That's what they do. They just have this air about them to where it's just like, man, you can't even breathe the air that I breathe. So don't even try to even think you can come over here. And they're not conscious or cognizant of the people who are paying attention to that, because they're so stuck in themselves and focused on what it is that they're wanting or trying to accomplish or trying to get to a particular person or somebody in a certain tax bracket, to where they just straight disrespected everybody else that got in the way of that. And you really never know, because as I say, you can't judge a book by its cover. So just because somebody who may be stepping to you may not look like their pockets are long, it could be longer than the person who you checking for. You just don't know. That's what I'm saying. You just got to treat all people with respect. If you're not interested, that's fine. You don't have to be interested, but you don't have to be nasty to people. Just say thanks, but no thanks. Say with a smile. Just move. You don't have to be that way. And a lot of Black men talk about the energy that they get from the Black woman. And it's energy that, for the most part, they don't get from women in as large of numbers from other cultural groups. Because I'm sure each group, you got some ladies that'll come off like that. But I feel like within the Black cultural group, you got more Black women who come off with that certain type of energy of, hey, you're not good enough for me. Don't step to me. But they're the main ones talking about, I don't have a man. I want a man. I need a man. It's not me. It's them. Oh, really, sis? Oh, really? It's a selfish mentality. And, with my sons, as I was telling them, sometimes, as an example of just talking about the woman, the bus driver, she's an example of a woman who's so full of herself and caught up in her own self and whatever she got going on, because she could be going through. You never know what people are going through. I get that. But at the same time, you can't make it a habit also to be moving through life just being mean or nasty to people just because you got something going on. People don't know you got something going on. And whatever you got going on, it don't have anything to do with them. So you can't come off and put that energy on innocent people like that and then still expect to get a warm welcome from them. Because this particular woman, it's like she gives off this energy, but expects to get a warm welcome from the kids on the bus. And then she get pissed off when she's not getting a warm welcome. And it's like, sis, you not giving these kids. They might be kids, but they not dumb. They understand that you do the absolute most and they ain't trying to fool with you, period. They don't like you. They don't like you, rightfully so, because of how you come off to them. So that's what I want to talk about here. I do appreciate you guys for joining. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this subject as it pertains to mothers. Are mothers ruining their sons? I know as a mother, I'm not ruining mine, but I feel like there are a lot of women out here who are. It is what it is. So all I can do is come on here as a whole married woman of almost 18 years to speak on it and talk to the ladies and be like, listen, sis, if you want to get different results, you got to do things differently. And that's just, that thought process can be applied to all aspects of our lives. So I come on here in hopes that there's somebody who listens, who catches this live, or even if they catch the playback, somebody who's ready for change and ready to move differently in order to yield a different result, a different response, in order to be a better mother, a better wife, a better mom, a better sister, just a better person, period. Because a lot of us are just moving out here like as though we don't have anything that needs to be adjusted. It's like everybody else around us got, something to work on except for us. And that's so far from the truth. Because as I say, that main one I noticed that's so quick to say, I'm good and you got issues, you need to work on this. I identify them as having more issues than many of the other people who they talk about, you know? So it's like people aren't taking a look within. They're spending more time looking outwards, because I understand, you know, it hurts. It's easier to point the finger. But in order for us to see change, we got to reverse that finger. We got to point it back at ourselves. We got to do the work. And we got to be cognizant on how we are coming off, because there is always somebody watching. And we will always need other people in life. There's always going to be somebody you need, regardless of how rich, how poor you are. There's always going to be, we're always going to need to depend on somebody else. And if you running around not doing right by people and acting nasty, then nobody ain't gonna want to be there for you. So that's all I had to say for today on Chic Speaks. Again, thank you for joining. Please like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. And until the next broadcast, peace.